Hey everybody, 8-Bit Josh here, and welcome back to Meridian Springs. And I know it's been a very long time, and I do apologize. I've kind of just been taking a little break from, well, okay, that's not true. I have been streaming Planet Zoo over on my Twitch channel the last few months. I just haven't really had time to record a new YouTube video. So there's actually quite a bit that's new since the last episode. But what I'm doing here is I'm actually preparing to move the entrance. You saw at the very beginning, I actually deleted the gondola ride. So we used to have that building there, and then the gondola ride that led into, you know, the main part of the zoo, the kind of city, if you will. And, you know, over the course of building this zoo, I was like, you know, if I ever open this for guests, which I've never opened it, or when I put it on the workshop and somebody downloads it and opens it, the only way for guests to get in the zoo, man, I love the new delete tool, but the only way for guests to get into the zoo is via that gondola ride. And I was like, man, that's gonna cause a lot of congestion and backup, and it's gonna be like really difficult to get guests into the zoo. And over the course of, you know, building this zoo, I've kind of been mulling the idea of moving it and getting rid of it. So that's what I did here, because the zoo is actually done at this point. We've already added the last habitat. So I was like, you know what, now is the time to do this. So that's what I did. But I didn't want to get rid of plateau with the building on it and the helicopter landing pad, because the kind of idea behind the zoo is sort of like Jurassic Park, where to get to the zoo, guests actually have to be helicoptered in. And so I kind of like keeping that original building, even though it looks modern and doesn't fit with the theme. I kind of think of the zoo as like almost like a Universal or Disney style zoo, where it's super crazy themed and all that, but the entrance area is, you know, pretty modern and doesn't really fit with the zoo. And I kind of like that, so I didn't want to get rid of it. So I moved it to the other side of the zoo, which, if you've watched the episodes before, I actually over by the elephants and the white rhinos, I have a path that I don't remember why I did it originally, but I had the path, I extended it across the river that acts as the boundary of our zoo. I don't really know why I did that back then, but it ended up working out because I use that as the entrance for our zoo now. So here I'm kind of changing up the terrain a little bit, because I put like a winding path down from the entrance, and then it meets up with that path I was just talking about that kind of goes over the river, which is that right there. So yeah, just had to do a little bit of terraforming to make it a bit realistic, I guess, because some of the terrain was like a very sharp incline. But I kind of like the idea that the path kind of winds down and then, you know, kind of back as it goes down. It's actually, I think, fairly realistic. If you're you know, if you ever walking anywhere or hiking anywhere that's really hilly or mountainous, is you know, paths, so that they're not super steep. They kind of slope down kind of gently, and then they kind of turn back on themselves, and they kind of just, you know, do that back and forth as it goes down, you know, the hill or the mountain. So that's what I was kind of doing there. And then I'm just adding some more details around, you know, I had to move some of the grass and add in some more rocks and some more plants just to make it look, you know, make it look better, make it look more filled in and everything. Those bamboo, I think they're considered trees, but they're kind of like bushes. I use those everywhere because they're great filler, especially in a tropical setting, which this zoo is. Even though it's in a desert biome, it's a very tropical themed zoo, just because of what we're basing it off of, which is Horizon Zero Dawn, the Meridian area in that game. But yeah, it's I think it's gonna work out good. I'm glad that I decided to move it because, like I said, the gondola ride just logistically would not have worked well if the zoo, once the zoo is actually open for guests. And then here I'm just I made a group of trees that I like to do to kind of fill out some space, just to, kind of go around the zoo. And again, that river is sort of the boundary, and so I wanted to just do another like tree line that kind of goes all the way around. I've been doing that the whole time, so I'm really just kind of finishing that idea, especially now that the entrance has been moved. I had thought about covering the entire buildable area of the map with trees, but I actually didn't make the zoo like dead center in the buildable area. It's kind of like closer to one edge, and I actually did that, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I took all the trees out. So I just left it with the tree line bordering the river that goes around the outside. But yeah, so a lot of this was just, kind of adding more details, since this is now the entrance of the zoo, just adding more details to make it look more finished and more complete and all that. But yeah, I think this about does it for the time lapse. So we're gonna jump in, and I'm gonna show you everything since the last episode, because there's a lot to look at. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, and here is the entrance, now moved to the other side of the zoo, and it's fairly simple. It's just got a little winding path down the cliffside, and then joins up over here. This is what I was talking about in the time lapse. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, it's exactly the same if you've seen this before. I did, obviously there was a ride. The gondola ride was right here. So I took the queue out and just, filled up the space with some foliage and grass and whatnot. The inside, still the same. Like I said, I didn't change any of this. The only thing I changed with the building is I changed the sign. For the longest time, this said Siri Springs, which was SIRI, which was the original name of the zoo before we kind of came up with the Horizon Zero Dawn theme. So I finally changed that to Meridian Springs. Yeah, otherwise, it's the same. So if you haven't caught this series before, so this is the helicopter landing pad, like I was saying. This is how guests get into the zoo. They come down here. I made these like little elevators, and then down here there are the other elevators, which on this side is just the guest spawners, and then the actual zoo entrances are right here. And yeah, so guests just they walk down. I probably could have made this path a little bit wider. This should be okay. And then it just kind of winds down, and then there you get a really cool, I think, look of the city. Now, I probably could have, if I had thought this through better at the beginning, because I do like the elevator towers as like being kind of the entrance, what you see when you walk in. But it just didn't really work out that way because of the way I designed the city around the gondola ride, which was here. So originally this island was right here, and then the gondola ride went in across and went into this area. The station building was right here, and then it popped back out from this building and then back across to the entrance. So I just took the station out. I filled it with foliage and stuff because, that's what I do. I love foliage, and I think it looks good. But yeah, so that's the entrance now moved to this side of the zoo, which I still think this is a really cool view. As you're walking in, you get that kind of it's still pretty awe-inspiring, I think, anyway, especially because like the very first animals you see are the elephants, which are always majestic. Then we have like the white rhinoceros over here. We've also got the meerkats. They've got a little habitat over here. So this is a really, I think, good sort of first introduction to the zoo as a guest is walking in. There's also a path over here, which is a very long and windy path, but it meets up over here for the horses. This isn't new or anything, but just kind of showing you what the entrance is like for guests. So yeah, what else is new? Well, since the last episode we actually built this habitat here with the sort of tree houses and stuff for the proboscis monkey. We didn't even have like, I didn't even have like the viewing platform for the guests. So all of this is new. I went with a really heavy, like kind of craggy rock theme, I guess, for this section of the zoo. We also added, we have bats since the Twilight DLC came out. So we have bats now. They have a walkthrough habitat. Oops, sorry. Camera controls. This is my first time playing. So this is actually, we actually have two habitats here, but I kind of, the way I placed them, I tried to make it seem like one big habitat. So the guests walk over, and then this is actually the second habitat, but tried to make it all seem sort of the same. So yeah, we have bats in the game, which is really cool. And the reason I added the bats, well, one, because they're cool, and they were new at the time, but you know, one of the things we've been doing is trying to pick animals that sort of have a machine counterpart in the Horizon series of games. And there's actually a bat machine in Horizon Forbidden West called the Dreadwing, I believe. So that's why we added that. Then here we have the Bengal tiger. I actually really like this habitat a lot. Again, very craggy. I love doing like paths that go over a habitat. I just think it's really neat. I really like the two like viewing platforms. So we've got the education board and the donation bin, and then the guests can, you know, kind of just peer over and observe the tigers. The ride also goes through it, which is really nice. A neat little trick, if you don't want to use like the habitat gates for the ride, you can actually just build it similar, exactly like pathing. You can just build it over top, and you don't need a habitat gate. So like when you have an animal like the Bengal tiger that you can't obviously let guests go into the habitat, just build it over top and let them watch from above. Where is our tiger? I saw him. Oh, there he is. Getting a little sun on the beach. I like this little cozy corner here. The water. We have two. I don't know where the other one is. Are they? Oh yeah, they're in their little tiger cave. Love it. Yeah. So, what else do we have? Oh, over here. Oh yeah, we added a billboard for Aurora Zoo, which I need to go into Photoshop and add some text to this. But if you remember, in Aurora Zoo, I made a billboard for the previous zoo before that, which was called Wildlife World. You can actually see the billboard right there. So we were like, you know what? Why don't we do the same thing? So I just did that real quick with a screenshot that I already had. But I need to, before I put this zoo up on the workshop, I'm gonna take this image and add some text to it. I think I added that one or two other places around the zoo as well. So yeah, and then over here, he added Komodo dragons. I like their little habitat as well. I was actually pretty proud of this little walkway. The staff didn't have a way to reach this part of the habitat because the water like kind of blocked it. So I just added this like little wooden walkway, and it worked out perfectly. So the staff can walk over it and get over there. But I really like this habitat. I don't know, just something about where it is in the zoo. It's a nice little like guests can just kind of walk by and take a look. And then as we go on, we've got a little bridge here, goes over the 4x4 ride. And then, so for this area, it'd been empty for a while and wasn't really sure what we wanted to do because, you know, it was like we could do like maybe 1 to 2 like big habitats, or we could do a bunch of smaller ones. So we actually did a bunch of smaller ones, and we'll show you that. This building you may recognize if you've been following my channel for the last few years. This is actually a building I made for my very first zoo, Wildlife World. I retrofitted it to make the theme fit a little bit more with this zoo. Like I changed the walls, but the actual building and the interior, mostly the same. I didn't really change it. But I was like, we don't have any, we need like a little building over here of some kind. So I added that. But yeah, so we have, what do we have over here? Like 4 small habitats. And what I really like about it is how windy the paths are around it. I made them extra wide because normally I would like to, you know, I like to do like little offshoot paths for the habitat so it doesn't like block, you know, the traffic and cause congestion. So I just made the paths extra wide here. We have prairie dogs. They have a tiny little habitat. See him coming out of his burrow there. But yeah, just a nice little simple habitat. I like it. It works really well. Here we have the capybaras, which I gave them, you know, they like their little spa areas. So we gave them like, you know, the steamy water and of course like their little shower things and stuff like that. Yeah, I really like this habitat as well. And then you walk over, and then over here we have red foxes. What I like about this spot too is this path in the middle is just for staff. So it's just a regular path, but right at the beginning, I put on each side, I put a staff path. So that prevents guests from walking back there. But this is where the habitat gates are. So the staff have an easy way to, you know, get into both habitats. That fox rolling around in the grass. The ride also goes over this. So I made like a little, just kind of like a little tunnel, if you will, that goes under it. One of the burrows is right there. And then they have this other little spot over here. Got another burrow for them. And then as we go over, then over here we have cranes. So I like that we ended up going with, you know, like the 4 smaller habitats for this part of the zoo, because it just kind of, a lot of the zoo has like really big habitats, and the guests kind of have to walk from one to the other to kind of get there. So I like that this part is kind of condensed. And then it just meets up over here, which all of this has been, you know, this has all been completed for a while. But yeah, so that is what we've done since the last episode. It's not like a huge area. You know, like I said, all we've really done is this spot here, but it turned out really good. But yeah, like I said, the zoo is done. This is the completed Meridian Springs, our Horizon Zero Dawn themed zoo, with a little bit of Horizon Forbidden West stuff in there as well. But yeah, I hope you like this episode. Again, I apologize that there's been so much time in between, you know, since the last episode, but yeah, I think it's good. I will do, you know, like I've done with the previous 2 zoos, we'll do a walkthrough tour. Maybe for that video, I'll actually open the zoo for guests so we can actually see the guests interacting with everything, because that's actually something we have not seen in the like year and a half that I've been working on this zoo. So yeah, that should do it. So as always, be sure to leave your comments, suggestions, and feedback down below. I am 8-Bit Josh, and thanks for watching. See ya.